Most of you have probably heard of the Balkans, a region that sits quietly in the southeastern part of Europe, yet carries the weight of centuries of history, Sungkursh, and transformation, a place where empires rose and fell, where cultures collided, and where identities were constantly reshaped. And among these nations lies a country that often stays under the radar, yet holds a story far deeper than its size suggests. This is Albania, a small Balkan country with a land area of just 28,000 square kilometers and a population of roughly 3 million. But the idea that Albanians are limited to just these borders would be a mistake, because in North Macedonia, nearly 1 out of every 3 people identifies as Albanian, and in Kosovo, more than half of the population speaks Albanian, shares that identity, meaning Albania is not just a country but a cultural presence that extends far beyond its official borders. And as we step into this journey, imagine yourself landing in the capital Tirana, a city that blends chaos and charm in a way that feels both unfamiliar and strangely welcoming. Your first morning begins not with something uniquely Albanian, but rather something very Balkan. A simple, greasy pastry known as burek, flaky on the outside and filled with meat, cheese, or spinach on the inside, sold in small bakeries across the city, often served hot and quickly eaten standing up. Because here, breakfast is not about slowing down, but about fueling up for the day ahead. And if burek is not your choice, then slices of pizza are just as common, reflecting the strong Italian influence that runs deep through Albanian daily life. But even something as simple as food reveals a deeper layer of identity, because Albania is home to multiple religious communities where Muslims avoid pork, while many Christians consume it freely. So even ordering a pastry becomes a moment of awareness, a reminder that this society is built on diversity rather than uniformity. And as we move beyond food and into history, the depth of Albania's past begins to unfold, because for nearly 1,000 years, this land was part of the Byzantine Empire, a time when Christianity dominated and the foundations of culture and architecture were laid, followed by more than 4 centuries under the Ottoman Empire rule in Balkans, which introduced Islam, new traditions, and a completely different way of life. And like many Balkan nations, Albania became a meeting point of East and West, where minarets and churches rose side by side, and where language itself absorbed influences from multiple civilizations. But history did not stop there, because after the fall of the Ottomans, Albania entered a turbulent period marked by occupation from countries like Italy, Greece, and Serbia, leaving behind layers of influence that can still be seen today in architecture, fashion, and even mindset. And eventually, the country found itself under one of the most isolated communist regimes in modern history, led by Enver Hoxha, a leader whose rule lasted over 4 decades, shaping Albania in ways that are still visible today. During his time, literacy rates increased dramatically, infrastructure expanded, and public health improved. Yet, at the same time, freedom was heavily restricted. Religion was banned, and the country was cut off from the rest of the world, turning Albania into something close to a sealed system, where information, ideas, and even belief were tightly controlled. And perhaps the most visible symbol of that era is the thousands of bunkers scattered across the country, small concrete domes built in preparation for a war that never came, standing silently across hills, cities, and coastlines, like reminders of a paranoid past. Some of these bunkers now serve as museums, especially in the heart of Tirana, where underground tunnels reveal the hidden reality of life during those years. Narrow corridors, dimly lit rooms, and preserved artifacts that tell stories of hope, uncertainty, and survival. And when communism finally collapsed, Albania did not immediately transform into stability. Instead, it entered a period of confusion. Institutions were weak. systems were unprepared, and Comtes were suddenly exposed to a world they had been isolated from for decades. And during this time, many Albanians chose to leave, especially towards Italy, searching for better opportunities, a trend that continues even today, resulting in a noticeable gap in the middle-aged population, where cities are filled mostly with youth and the elderly. Yet, despite all these changes, one thing remained intact: the Albanian identity, a strong sense of belonging that survived centuries of occupation and ideological shifts. Although daily life reflects a blend of influences: Ottoman in food and tradition, Italian in fashion and lifestyle, and European in aspiration. Because if you ask many Albanians where they feel they belong, the answer often leans toward Europe rather than Asia. And this identity is also reflected in their flag, a deep red background with a black double-headed eagle symbolizing power, unity, and the blood shed throughout history, a design that carries echoes of the Byzantine past and continues to represent national pride today. Economically, Albania faces challenges. Its currency, the Albanian lek, may appear large in numbers, but purchasing power remains limited, with everyday expenses often higher than expected, and average monthly salaries ranging between 800 to 1,000 euros, making financial stability a constant concern for many families. Yet life continues with resilience as people adapt, find ways to earn, and rely heavily on family support. Because in Albania, family is not just important, it is everything: a unit that defines identity, provides security, and shapes every day. Decisions, and this strong family culture becomes most visible on weekends, especially Sundays, when parks, cafes, and streets fill with families spending time together, talking, laughing, and simply being present. Religion in Albania stands out for its balance. Mosques and churches exist side by side, and freedom of belief is deeply respected. So much so that within a single family, you may find both Muslims and Christians coexisting peacefully, a reflection of a society where religion is personal rather than political. And as you walk through the lively streets of Tirana, you encounter a mix of cultures: Italian restaurants, Turkish kebab shops, Arab cafes, and local businesses, all blending into a unique urban atmosphere. At the center of it all lies Skanderbeg Square, a vast open space surrounded by history, named after Skanderbeg, a figure who symbolizes resistance and independence, standing proudly as a reminder of the country's Sangharsh. Nearby, the Pyramid of Tirana stands as a relic of the communist era, once dedicated to Enver Hoxha, and now transformed into a public landmark offering panoramic views of a city that continues to evolve. Beyond the city, Albania's coastline along the Adriatic Sea offers one of its greatest advantages, attracting tourists from across Europe, seeking affordable beach destinations and natural beauty. Yet alongside its beauty, Albania also carries a darker reputation through the Albanian mafia, often portrayed as powerful and influential on the global stage. Although for everyday visitors, the country remains largely safe and welcoming, and perhaps that is what defines Albania best. A land of contrasts, where past and present coexist, where hardship and hope walk side by side, and where a small country holds a story far greater than its size. This was Albania, a hidden gem of the Balkans. And if you enjoyed this journey, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay with Morucode for more powerful stories from around the world. Until next time, goodbye.